Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Low Season Traveller Insider Guides. I hope you're all doing really well and that you've had a great week. This year we've launched a small selection of intimate signature low season journeys with our wonderful partners, which all show off each destination in their very best light. And so this week we're following up on last week's episode to Rajasthan by featuring wonderful Kerala in southern India. Once again, we're joined by the supremely knowledgeable and utterly charming Lovleen Sagar from our partners at Sita India, who's going to be telling us all about how we can enjoy Kerala more if we take it easy and do some seriously slow travel. This trip is definitely the antidote to the past 2 years. Enjoy. So Lovleen, you are most welcome back to the Low Season Traveller Insider Guides podcast. Great to have you back again this week. How have you been?
I've been very well, thank you, Ted.
Good, delighted to hear it. And it's great to have you back because obviously last week we were talking about the splendours of Rajasthan, and there was an awful lot to fit in, wasn't there? And we just about managed to get there with most of the important activities and experiences. This week, obviously, we're talking about a different region in India, which again might not be familiar to some people, but we're talking, of course, about the region of Kerala, which is very different now to Rajasthan. Give us a little bit of an introduction to Kerala, and I should point out that this is on our tour that we're featuring on this. It's Kerala unhurriedly. This is very much relaxing. This is the antidote to COVID, isn't it? It's the let's just re-find ourselves, center ourselves, and move on. But tell us a little bit about Kerala.
Yeah, you said it right. It's the antidote to COVID. That's what everybody needs, I think. Just unhurried holiday, palm-fringed beaches, lovely backwaters, beautiful sceneries, and backwaters, plantations, jungles, some mountains. So Kerala is all of this and more. Kerala is at the southern tip of India with very tropical climate and warm through the year. Even in the peak of winter, it's very, very comfortable and nice and warm weather. Some of the beaches are lovely to swim in. And the unique thing about Kerala is really the backwaters that kind of come through the sea and into inland and creating little islands out of the land that is there. And narrow islands and narrow little canals as you go through the land. And these backwaters have a life of their own. Of course, people live in the tiniest of these islands, and it's densely populated. It's one of the most educated societies in India today. And you wouldn't believe it, it's the only communist state in India today.
No way.
The government in Kerala believes in socialism, and India is a social democratic democracy, but the government in Kerala is a communist government, and they believe in education in a big way. And so it has 90% literacy rate, more than 90% literacy rate compared to the rest of India. And certain sections of the community follow a matrilineal society where the woman is the head is the matriarch, literally. There is a certain community that follows that. So it's a very evolved society. And being at the tip of India, surrounded by ocean on 3 sides, it's had an influx of travelers and traders over centuries. So as a result, its culture is really cosmopolitan. So we've had the Dutch travelers. The Arabs came first, trading in spice, and they brought Islam. While Prophet was still alive, Islam came to Kerala. Wow. And then Christianity came to this part of India first, and as early as it reached Europe around the same time. So we have old communities, the Syrian Christians who still live there. for the high caste Hindus who kind of converted into Christianity. And we've had the Dutch, we've had the Portuguese, we've had all kinds of different traders who've come by. Vasco da Gama landed in Kerala. So as you can imagine, it has beautiful mixture and influences of all these European, Arabian influences mixed with Indian ethos and culture. And so it reflects in people, it reflects in the cuisine, in what they wear and their beliefs. So it's a very beautiful and a very different community and culture compared to we were talking about Rajasthan last week, and it's so different, vastly different from it. So yes, the food is my favorite.
The food, yeah. Well, funnily enough, I had recently from our local supermarket a Carolan curry, kind of coconutty. It's kind of a coconut influence. God, it was gorgeous, and I'm sure it's nowhere near as good as anything I would get actually in Kerala. I'm sure of that. What kind of foods do they have in Kerala? And what's the dishes like?
So it's mostly rice based, in the sense the carb they use is rice. And they make these rice pancakes, which are called hoppers or appams, and they have it with stew. I will talk about food a lot as we talk about the tour, because there are some lovely experiences in the tour. So they have this their version of a stew with chicken or duck, which is very popular. Duck is very popular here. They eat a lot of fish, being a coastal state. They eat a lot of fish, and all seafood basically. And then there's duck and there's chicken, and not as much goat or red meat, but all of the other meats. And it's one of those states which is beef is eaten very popularly as well. So really? They have beef and a version of a paratha, North Indian flatbread, which is very popular in certain communities.
Fabulous. Well, let's get straight into it. Tell us some of the highlights of this particular tour that we've got. This Kerala Unhurriedly, as we say. It's a very relaxed itinerary, and it's 17 days in total. What are some of the sort of the top experiences that people can hope to have when they're in Kerala?
So as you rightly said, it's very, very relaxed. You are spending a minimum of 3 nights in each city, literally. So you start with Cochin, which has an international airport, and you start with Cochin, and then you have 3 nights there. Then you go on to Munnar, which is the hills. So you have a mixture of a coastal city, the tea gardens of Munnar, and hills and jungles. And then you are in the spice village plantations, in a jungle which has a beautiful lake. And then you are in a farm, spice plantation, a coconut farm, and then you end with a beach, a 4 nights of relaxed beach stay at the end. So it's a mix of jungles, beach, and some hills, and a coastal town. So, and you also get to meet a lot of people on the way, authentic, immersive experiences. You taste different types of cuisines that Kerala has to offer, with all the influences I just spoke about. And you see obviously some wildlife and some culture, monuments. So it's a good mix of everything. Grand masala mix, but unhurriedly.
But unhurriedly, of course. And I think that's something that, again, I sort of said it to you off air before. I haven't had the good fortune to have visited Kerala myself personally, but Kerala seems to have a little bit of everything. It's got these fabulous beaches. It's got these wonderful hill locations as well, with the tea plantations and such like. Then, of course, it's got the backwaters as well. I mean, it's got a little bit of everything, hasn't it, really, Kerala?
Yes, it does. It does. And I think the beauty is that, I think that's the beauty really, a little bit of everything. And you've also got the scenery, and it's not very busy. It's a gentler introduction to India, it's not as busy as the buzz of Delhi or Rajasthan, as we spoke about. It's a much more relaxed space, and you are amidst nature really all the time, different versions of the nature. So
yeah, fabulous. As well, something you said there before about it being very much, the culture there is very much matriarchal. And it was just making me think, we have a lot of travelers, a lot of low season travelers are solo travelers. They like to travel on their own. And I know that with this particular tour, we've got a number of places with no single supplement, which is fantastic. Because I know one of the problems with being a solo traveler, for whatever reason, is that usually you have to pay extra to be a solo traveler. And I know that with yourselves, we've managed to negotiate no single supplements for, I think, 2 or 3 solo travelers, which is fabulous. What I'm wondering, though, is when we're talking about a matriarchal sort of society, is it quite a safe place for women to travel on their own, potentially?
Yes, I would say so, Jed, because all of India, for that matter, when you're traveling through a recognized tour operator like yourself, or destination management company like ourselves, we ensure that everything is vetted, whether it is the hotels we pick or the resorts we pick, restaurants, drivers, guides. Everybody goes through a very stringent quality check and an interview. And we believe in, as a company, we believe in women empowerment, and we've signed the UN code as well. And there are a lot of women guides in Kerala. And sadly, no, not many women drivers, but a lot of women guides.
Yeah.
And it's very, very safe. I would travel alone in Kerala without a worry. And you're with you have a driver and a guide, and so I don't think you need to worry at all, whether you're alone or in a group, because India's this way. It's very, very safe.
Yeah, perfect. Very good. So then, in terms of the sort of, again, we talked last week on the Rajasthan episode. We were talking about some of the differences that traveling with low season traveler, and indeed with Sita, are, and that's about that kind of that cultural immersion. What kind of cultural immersion can people hope to experience on this particular tour in Kerala?
So there are many little experiences practically in every station that you're in. Yeah. In Cochin, we have this beautiful time that you spend with the Little Queen embroidery shop. It's a workshop that is run by nuns, by Christian nuns who run this little NGO. And some of the embroidery tradition you find here date back to Middle Ages. They're really very good with their craft, and it's done by the women from the fishermen community of Marari, which is also a place where you'll spend some time. So a lovely interaction here awaits you. And then as you go into Munnar, you have a plantation visit. That is a tea plantation visit, which is also extremely immersive. You see the local village and you visit local churches, and there's the meet the planters, basically the tea planters, the women plucking tea leaves, and local people you meet there. When you are in Thekadi, you are in a spice plantation. Again, you get to meet and interact with the plantation workers, and you are at a farmer's home here. You're spending time at a farmer's home, and there you get to meet, of course, a local family, which is very much into farming, and they'll tell you all about it. And so that will be an immersive experience. Yeah. then there's another beautiful stay with Philip Kutty's family. So Mr. Philip Kutty was a coconut planter, and he's no more, but his wife and daughter-in-law run this beautiful farm, and they are really good cooks, both of them, and their family lives there. So this time you spend with them, I think, is going to be priceless, because the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, between the two of them, you get to learn how to cook, you get to learn how to climb a coconut tree.
Wonderful.
And
Oh,
get
really?
the coconuts
Really?
down. You will watch,
Oh,
you will watch
definitely.
somebody go up, and if you want to try, you can try. And they also make a local wine in their home, which is called toddy. So you get to try toddy. So all of those fun things are there. Then there's another lovely experience. You see a Kathakali dance performance. So these performers who wear these masks on their face, and it's all painted. So you actually see an artist putting paint on their face, decorating themselves, preparing for the dance, and you get to interact with him. And mostly it's done by men who during the day have other professions, and at night transform into these dancers, Kathakali dancers. So I once had a lovely experience where I chatted with the person performing, and he turned out to be a postman. So his day job was that of a postman. And at night, every evening, he'd come to this theater, put on this paint and dance.
How fabulous.
Yeah, so you also get to see this, and it's a lovely experience, and they explain it, what they're doing, the dance, and it's actually fun. Then during your stay at Marari, there's a lovely fishing community nearby, so you have an opportunity of walking in the morning on the beach to just meet the fishermen, or just watch them do their daily job, catch their fish. You could have a go at it if you want.
I'd love
So there's
that. I would
actually
love
a yeah, there's actually a lovely experience like that in the tour, where you try your hand at fishing. So yeah, they're lovely. Some of the experiences are really fun.
Yeah. That's absolutely wonderful. I'd love to do that. Getting up early in the morning, just as the sun's rising, doing a bit of fishing, and actually just talking to the fishermen about their lives, and about how possibly how fishing has changed, what kind of fish they catch, all of that kind of stuff. But it's the real life, isn't it? It's learning about people's real lives. And I love that. You're talking about the dancers there, and how that particular gentleman was a postman. But as well, I just sort of think with that, it's wonderful that although he's got his sort of full-time job as a postman in that particular circumstance, he obviously sees the value in keeping that cultural heritage alive. Those traditional dances, which I'm sure have been done for many, many, many years and generations, but and then passing that down to the next generations. I think that's wonderful, and it'd be great to learn more about the background of those particular dances, and the painting of the faces and everything else. It'd be wonderful to learn more about that. And again, that's what you can do on this particular tour. Get really under the skin and learn from the locals, which I just think is perfect.
Yeah. You also have a fun thing in Cochin when you're in the Fort Cochin area. Talking about fishermen, okay, let me tell you about that first. So traditionally, nobody really knows how the Chinese fishing nets came into Fort Cochin area. And some of those relics are still there, and they still use the Chinese fishing nets to catch fish. So those Chinese fishing nets are also fascinating to see in the Fort Cochin area. And then we have a tuk-tuk tour of the traditional town of Cochin. So going to Matancherry, which was the Jewish hub in the olden times. And you go there on a tuk-tuk, that's also a lovely experience. So when I was talking about all the influences, I must mention that there is a substantial Jewish population that came to Kerala, and the king gave them refuge, and they built a beautiful synagogue in the heart of the Cochin town, in an area called Mattancherry. And there's also a port just on the outskirts of Cochin called Muziris. So that is also related to Jewish heritage in India. And it's fascinating for historians and people into art to come and see what still exists there. And there's an art festival that happens in the Muziris Biennale that happens every year. And so that art festival is now globally known and famous, and people come from around the world to see that.
Wonderful. There's so much. And it's just, it really does give an indication as to how much of a, like you said at the very beginning of this episode, a multicultural society where so many different peoples have passed through and left their mark along the way as well, which makes it a fabulous destination in its own right, and certainly a fabulous destination for us to feature at Low Season Traveller. And sadly, Lovleen, that is all we've got time for this week. I want to thank you so much again for taking the time to join us and to talk to us about Kerala, which sounds absolutely amazing. Rising very quickly up my bucket list, I can assure you of that. I will get there at some point, hopefully this year, and try and make it happen. But what a wonderful destination it is that you've painted for us today. You painted a picture of, and also I feel really happy that we've decided to do a Kerala unhurriedly tour. I think it's exactly the right call, because at the outset we said it is a bit like it's the antidote to COVID, and it's the kind of trip that we all kind of deserve. We want to see and experience new things. We want to get into the culture of the local population there, but we want to do it in just a little bit more of a relaxed time. And of course, right at the end of this tour, you've got 4 days on the beach as well, just to really chill out. What a fabulous experience! But yeah, it sounds really good. I'm now just, of course, a little bit envious, because I'd really love to be going on that tour myself. Maybe I will, Lovely. But listen, thank you so much for your time. Been really appreciated, and I hope you'll join us again at some point in the future, and we'll do another episode and we'll try and cover off some more wonderful destinations within India. But for now, thank you so much, Lovely.
Thank you so much, Jed, for inviting me. It's been my pleasure.
Right, take good care.
Bye-bye.
So there you have it. Huge thanks again to Lovleen for joining us once again this week for our lowdown on Kerala in the low season months. And if you'd like to join us later in the year for this journey, the tour runs from the 9th to the 24th of September and costs just £1,999 per person, with no single supplement for the first 2 confirmed solo travellers. This price includes 16 nights superb accommodation with fabulous breakfast included too, as well as all transport in India, and of course the immersive excursions as detailed in the trip itinerary. It's going to be a wonderfully immersive trip of a lifetime, and there are only 12 places available, so please do visit our Low Season Journeys section of the lowseasontraveller.com website to secure your place early. Finally, in our first edition of Low Season Traveller magazine this month, we have a special feature on India where you can learn just why the low season months are the perfect time to experience Kerala unhurriedly. You can subscribe for free on our website to get your copy today. But that's our show for this week. Thanks as always to you all for your company this week, and I hope you have a great week wherever you are. Stay healthy, stay safe, keep your travel dreams alive, and don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, family, and social networks. And finally, remember that travel is always better and fairer for the planet, the local communities, and you, the travellers, when it's without the crowds.